Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dominic Talamo. I'm the VP of Growth at SmartMedia Technologies, an enterprise engagement platform built for brands, agencies, and creators. With the deprecation of cookies continuing to loom, with more content than ever, it's imperative that personalized, meaningful connections that nail the value exchange is adhered to. So today I'm joined by a sterling lineup of three panelists, Alex, Tyler, and Michael. If you could all just introduce yourselves, your roles, and a little bit about what you do.
Please.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm the innovation lead for Dentsu Creative in the UK. And the past year I've worked on about 6 or 7 Web3 projects, the likes of Kellogg's, Pringles, Asahi, Heineken, mainly on that FMCG, CPG brand side. Good to be here, my first time in Austin. I love it, barbecue's great, and excited.
Hi, Tyler Moebius, founder, CEO of SmartMedia Technologies. Started my career in 1997, helping to bring the ad-supported web to the world by building one of the first ad servers. 2015, my co-founder formed Tether. It's the world's largest stablecoin. Founder, CEO. Quickly realizing we don't want to be Americans, starting a cryptocurrency in the US. So then pivoted in 2017, invested over $40 million in the last 5 years, focusing on creating a new protocol for NFTs focused on utility to drive deeper brand engagement and loyalty across everybody's smartphones.
Hi everybody, Michael Liu. I'm the head of innovation for Dentsu Media in the US. So Alex and I work very closely together, counterparts across the pond. But I essentially look after our clients and our teams here to understand different emerging technologies, the implications on business, all the way throughout to marketing, spans across some AR, VR, AI, blockchain, Web3. So very immersed in this space personally and professionally, and so always excited here to talk about it on how it could help brands.
Thank you very much. And look, there's been so much noise about Web3. We've just heard from Pepsi themselves around how they're so excited about Web3. There's lots of noise, lots of buzzwords. Can you just tell me a little bit about how you define Web3 and your take on what it means for consumers?
Cool, me first? Cool, okay. How do I define Web3? I think Web3 is a misunderstood term. I think a lot of people talk about Web3 when they don't necessarily understand what it is, but particularly in my experience from the brand side. For me, one of the interesting part is around new incentive structures, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, right? In terms of loyalty, for me is it's a old school word, right? And I think we can use all these Web3 techniques and tech to build better kind of engagement structures between brands and consumers. I think it also means communities. I think, again, a lot of brands think about, we can create a community in this space, but I think that's the wrong approach. I think it's about how do you kind of tap into existing communities and support them, and it's about creators, right? So those are kind of 2 elements of Web3. I think ultimately it means decentralization, the value layer that sits beneath the metaverse, again, this other buzzword. I think a lot of brands as well use those terms interchangeably, right? Web3 and metaverse, and it's incorrect in my opinion. So long story short, I think for me, that new incentive structures which build a great relationship between brands and consumers, but also these communities and how brands can support them and support creators. That's kind of what it means to me in essence. Does that make sense?
Perfectly articulate,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Dominic.
Thank you.
Web3 to me is really the fusion of culture and code. In Web 1, it was the democratization of data and information. Web 2 was the democratization of content, so user-generated content, but that was all on centralized platforms. Web 3 is about the democratization of ownership. So now those creators can now participate in the economics of the creator economy using wallets and using tokens. We're focused on all of us in this room being creators, that being specifically that with every like, with every tweet, with every swipe of a credit card, we're creating data. So we're creators of data, and we see the opportunity of giving that power back to the creators so that we, as those creators of that data, can actually participate in the value of that and understand the value of that, especially with the deprecation of cookies and so forth. So our platform is really focused on the monetization of data and helping end users be able to leverage that.
Fantastic. My next question is an interesting one because we've got 2 stakeholders from Dentsu, huge global agency network. And I'd like to hear your view on how you are driving innovation, pushing the agenda, getting clients excited about it, but making sure that the strategy is right for that brand. So I'll start with a UK point of view, and then I'll lead to you, Michael, for a US follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, see, UK, a lot smaller market than the US, more difficult to have those Web3 conversations. I think a lot of our clients, like at Kellogg's, for example, you'll mention the term Web3 and they'll kind of glaze over and go, what does it mean for me? So for me, Web3 is just another, or the technologies that sit within it, it's another part of our tool set to solve business challenges and problems, right? So that's the way we see it. For me, over the past year, getting our creative team upskilled on the potential for these technologies has been really important, because it's not a tech idea, right? Creative ideas come first and foremost, and how the tech can support those ideas. So that's what I've been working on, and then working with clients to understand how they brief in around these projects, right? In terms of, a brief isn't, I want to be in the metaverse, I want to do something in Web3, and I've probably had about 20 of those briefs over the past year, right? So working with clients to help them understand the importance of the space, what it is, and just education, right? In terms of, it might be right for your business now, but this is coming, and here are the next kind of stages of where it's going, and this is what you need to know. So that's been a key one for me, is around educating our internal teams, come up with better ideas, but then also educating clients around how do you brief this in, and how you do things that are going to be more long-term and strategic, rather than we've launched NFT, tick, that's great, let's tick my Web3 box of the year, let's move on, right? So yeah, having those direct conversations with clients, as opposed to go, yeah, we should be doing this just to do it. I'm a strong believer in, we shouldn't do that. Test and learn for me I'm not a fan of that term, I'm perfectly honest, because test and learn implies you're kind of satisfied with failure, and I don't like that. So that's my view.
I love that. And you're welcome to send those 20 briefs over to SMT as well when you get a chance.
Yeah, of course.
I think you raise a good point. When you think about Web3, you think about dipping your toe in it as a tactical campaign. You want to figure out what it means to your brand. And I think, now it's moving from a one-off tactical campaign to win some awards to driving long-term customer lifetime value, ultimately, and loyalty.
100%, yeah.
I'll just add on to that, too, because I think maybe Alex and I differ on it. I actually think the failures are important, too. And I don't think that you're saying it's not important, but I think it's okay to fail, and I think it's okay for us to have these experiments, because we'll go at it a couple ways at Dentsu, or even specifically like Kara, Dentsu X, Product, all of our different agencies. But we'll have the foundational operations side through procurement do their thing and try to figure out all the risks involved with that. I know the folks at Pepsi were talking about spending endless hours with legal. That is a big part of our jobs now, unfortunately. Or fortunately, who knows? It's not as fun as you think. But we do have to have those hard conversations about what's the implications as a brand for risk, because we're stewards of those brands. We have to be very responsible about that. But then you've got Alex and I who are just trying to run and gun and just do everything so we can learn from it and just kind of iterate off of what we're learning. So we have a steering committee. We've got a Dentsu-wide global Web3, I guess, COE in a sense, or just sort of enthusiasts, I should say, maybe a center of enthusiasts, where most of us are actually practicing it outside of work and sort of taking that learnings and coming in here, because I think it's also an important piece of it as marketers that you have people on the team that actually understand the culture and not necessarily just reading the reports, coming to these conferences and not actually playing around with it. So it's extremely important to actually dip your toe in it personally, set up your own wallets, try to mint something. And I think the important piece of it is us as an agency trying to find ways to make it easier on our brand's consumers to get into the space as well. There are a ton of things that it makes it really difficult, and there's a lot of barriers in the space, but partners like S&T and many others out there make it easy to sign up with an email, pay with a credit card, go through the whole thing, have someone else hold your wallet so you don't have to have the burden and the fear of losing crypto money or losing your assets for forever if you forget a password. So, our approach is a twofold in that sense. We're constantly trying to make sure that we're evaluating all the risks from the legal and the compliance perspective, but then also us trying to push the boundaries a little bit further. So I think we move forward, but just by pushing each other on both those aspects.
Yeah. And some of those legal conversations are actually pretty fun. Because, and again,
which ones are you? Who are you talking to?
No, I think they are, because I think legal come at this from a completely different angle, and then you're talking about for an idea, and then you look at it for a different lens, and it helps you your learning. So I quite enjoy those conversations now.
Legal and InfoSec is where Web3 campaigns go to die. That's where I've noticed for the most part.
And Tyler, as a long-standing pioneer in ad tech, right? You saw the birth of the internet. You rode the programmatic peak that we're currently experiencing, and now we're in this world of Web3. Are we thinking of this as a new channel, a new format? How's that developed in your mind from where we are?
Yeah, what excites me most about it is brands have spent the last 2 decades trying to gain consent to send an email to your inbox. They'll spend the next 2 decades gaining consent to send tokens to your wallet. The NFT wallet, the self-custodial wallet, we heard Coinbase launching WAS, like wallet as a service. And the reason being is the wallet is the next killer app. So it's not only where I hold my most valuable Bitcoin or my JPEG of an ape that's gone down a lot of value, but it's also going to be where I give clear consent to share my data with a brand. So in Web 1, we used an email and a password to authenticate ourselves across the open web to log in. In Web 2, we briefly trusted Facebook to Facebook Connect and authenticate us. And in Web 3, you'll use your wallet to log in and to authenticate. And that's also going to enable not only that direct engagement and relationship with the brand, but where you can receive compensation for sharing your data. So now you know what your data is worth, and you're able to start to build relationships with enterprises, with brands that you trust with that data, and to build a relationship off of that. So that's what excites us about it.
And Tyler, when we talk about Web3, we talk about engagement, but we sometimes miss what engagement looks like. So can you unpack what engagement looks like, leveraging an immersive environment to do so?
Yeah, so we've kind of looked at, like, it's all about not reinventing the marketing blueprint and understanding that how do we just create more touch points across the consumer journey and redefining that. And so how do we tokenize engagement? So whether that's digital coupons, whether that's NFT ticketing, or whether that's loyalty, and rethinking loyalty, which is the buzzword because Starbucks and Odyssey and everybody's like, oh, Web3. And so what it's really about is not rewarding your customers for just transactions, but rewarding them and using your loyalty program for engagement. And so whether that's following you on Twitter or filling out a customer survey where you're able to capture that first party data and those attributes, and then actually associate that to that wallet, and then create custom workflows in CRM the same way that you use MailChimp for sending targeted emails to inboxes. You'll be sending targeted tokens to wallets based on the first party data that you've captured as part of that.
And when you distill that a little bit further and you think about the sort of look and feel of a Web3 campaign, right? It's easy to sort of digest what a rich media mobile format looks like. But what are some of the mechanics that keep users occupied, engaged within the format itself? So things like AR, for example, if you can expand on.
First, it needs to be easy. And so Nike Artifact, probably, everybody knows that. 28,000 unique wallets for that entire program. 28,000. We have 7 million wallets on our platform. And the reason being is because those 7 million users who have our custodial wallet don't even know it's an NFT wallet. They just thought it was 2 taps on their mobile phone that they registered. And they're launched into an immersive, easy experience that has AR embedded with it with our partner Niantic. And you're creating a seamless, easy experience. That's the key to unlocking Web3, is that nobody cares that it's Web3. Like, nobody cares that our banners or our content is on Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, right? It's all about the end customer experience, making that easy and making it fun.
Yeah, I think that's the important piece to scale out this whole industry and topic, is just to obfuscate and sort of make it not clear that it's Web3, or at least just not have to focus on it, that we as marketers tend to do. Right, so I think for people to care about it and use it, you just have to not really talk about the technology, and that's what we're seeing of mass adoption protocols, because you don't talk about it, right?
Yeah, it was when we started 5 years ago, going into brands saying you should use NFTs and wallets. They're like WTFs and NFT, and then NFTs hit the scene. Now everybody wants to know what NFTs are, and we actually don't even talk about the technology or what have you. It's still about end use cases, business objectives. how are you using the platform to sort of skate across media, content, and experiences to be able to provide a more engaging solution?
So the benefits of Web3 without actually having to talk about Web3.
The solutions of Web3. Talking of AR was a point that we raised on a little bit. Alex and I were lucky enough to work on our third campaign with Vodafone in the UK, where we had 250,000 individuals running across UK to pick up collectibles in AR and redeem them for possibly a prize to Lapland. Alex, if I may ask you why that campaign was successful from a tactical campaign point of view, but crucially how that's facilitated a longer-term transaction.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we sat down with Vodafone and we were talking about kind of Christmas and holiday season and what they wanted to do, and a lot of brands had kind of put brand purpose kind of TVCs out there. In the UK, as around the world, inflation, money is tight. I think a lot of people kind of see through that brand purpose creative, being perfectly honest. So we sat down and thought, right, what can we do that's fun and engaging and gives something back? So we created, working with SMT, this AR mechanic where we create these elves, this new IP for Vodafone, scatter them around the country. You have to go out and find these elves and collect them, this SMT token, and then you can redeem that for rewards and prizes, right? So for me, it was quite simple execution, but in terms of, I think the interesting thing for me is creating new intellectual property for Vodafone. And now this year for the holidays, think about how we can actually use that in their TVCs and in store, for example. So that's an interesting thing in terms of doing something tactically, but then it's kind of working and then building on it for this year. And I think it was successful because at a time when everyone was kind of in the everyone's struggling with paying their rent, paying their food bills. We did something fun and engaging and interesting. And the cool thing was, I saw a video where a mum and her 2 children were running around their garden trying to find these elves. And it's like, it's fun, right? It's different. And for me, with Vodafone, the conversation now goes, okay, we can do Christmas again, 2023. We can kind of go big and use these elves and to create new IP. But how can we think about how we can have more of an always-on strategy with this, right? In terms of, you have 3 tentpole moments across the year. How can we re-engage those 250,000 users, and how can we start building that wallet base over the course of the next 12 months and use it more as a kind of a first-party data build program, and also kind of CRM, and to your point, how you're kind of redefining loyalty. So interesting how it went from, we had this challenge, we kind of create a solution, work with you guys to solve that challenge. It went well, and now I'm thinking more strategically about, okay, how can this kind of play out for more of an always-on strategy.
And I think that was like a key narrative that we were super proud of you guys in terms of with Vodafone helping them see that, I mean, you guys acquired like 250,000 wallets off that activation in 12 days. And so, it went from, wow, we acquired 250,000 wallets, addressable wallets, and emails at the same time for first-party data acquisition, like huge check of the box. Everybody has budget for that nowadays. But then saying, you would never acquire 250,000 emails and only email them once, right? So then changing that narrative to what's the always-on Web3 communication strategy as part of that, and then looking towards, hey, how does this become the future of loyalty, and then spanning across that.
So that's a good point, because as well, at the moment, we're looking at, okay, what's your engagement rate like across your current CRM and rewards program versus the engagement rate from this campaign? And I mean, the campaign was better, right? So they're going, well, how does this kind of fit in what you're currently doing around loyalty? So it moves from being a campaign execution, which went really well, to thinking about how it can be more, it can dovetail into what they're doing around loyalty, or potentially could be, it could become something that is more standalone for their loyalty programs. That's the interesting conversation that we're having.
Yeah, and another point to highlight there, we talk about value exchange, right? And I think when we talk about a D2C channel that we've just heard our friends at PepsiCo talk about, we've got to think about like the conversion rates, right? And if you think about those 250,000 people, 80% of those opted in for future marketing through the wallet. So they're very happy to be engaged. They're adults in that they have data, they're willing to share it, but they're also grown up in that they want something back in return, right? They want to be rewarded for their participation. So I think that's a key point now.
And to the point made on Pepsi, I think they mentioned they had a partnership with Call of Duty. The interesting thing in this space is forming these new partnerships and how these new partnerships can add value to the wallet and can add value to the experience you can create. That's an exciting thing for me.
Yeah. And Michael, I listened to your panel on Friday. You eloquently mentioned creative resonance and a creator economy. So my question to you is, how is ownership fundamental to Web3 ethos, and what does that mean for the creators?
Yeah, I think ownership is, I know Tyler was talking about this earlier on of how he defines Web3, and many other panels you'll probably hear is they talk about ownership, and it's such a crucial part and tenet of Web3, and I think everybody's so excited about it from a creator standpoint, and it's sort of like, that's why the creator economy has been moving more towards this industry as a whole, because of that equity that you get there. I think ownership in this space is not only like the ownership of digital assets, right? And I think if you break it down in a few ways, maybe it's ownership as a status, right? Like I own this, not just can pull it up online and see it. I own it in my wallet, right? You've got all these tokens, you've got the elves in your wallet and things like that. But then you also have the sovereignty aspect of it, which is the important part that really unlocks everything. So sovereignty in this aspect is they can't take that away from you. Like Vodafone issued them that token. They can't just take that and rip it back out, right? So you own that token, and that can unlock many other things for you. There's an interoperability aspect to that where if anybody wants to benefit and bonus out people who have these tokens in the Vodafone wallet for whatever reason, they can do that and they can find them to do that. So that sovereignty aspect is really big. And compared to Web 2, where Facebook Connect and all these other big tech platforms are taking your data, using your data in any way that they want, Web3 gives you the permission to kind of pull it back in or grant people permission to use your data too. So as they talk about this new form of CRM and loyalty and engagement, that's a big part of it where I, as a consumer, can say, I don't want you to use my data. I want to take it away from you, or I want you to only use it for this instance and not anything else. And so having that control and giving it back to people is a core piece of why Web3 is just so talked about in this high regard of the potential of that could be if it starts to replace the current structures that we're currently in.
Yeah, and you touched on I think the interoperability is key, it's particularly for loyalty, because imagine every loyalty point or token will be an ERC20 protocol, which is a fungible token, and now it's interoperable. So imagine I can use my United points, interoperably across all other loyalty programs. Suddenly I'd start joining more loyalty programs because it wasn't so siloed. It was interoperable, and I could share that value. And so the real cool opportunity with this is brands will start to tokenize the value that they want to give directly to that end consumer. So you might want to give away a $5 cup of coffee or a free lounge pass to United and just put that out into the wild. And I might grab that off of a QR code from a television ad or using image recognition off of a billboard using my wallet. It comes into my wallet, and I don't even fly United, but I know my sister does. And so I just share it with her, and now she has it. So at the end of the day, all of those free United Club passes will end up in the right wallet eventually. Versus today, we spend a $25 CPM on making impressions that just evaporate into the ethos, and you hope it was addressable to the right person. Now these objects and this exchange of value ends up with eventually in the right hands of the right consumer to be able to redeem it and become a customer.
That's such a key point, the interoperability. I just love how you explain that, because any other brand could say, I could just want to build my own CRM or loyalty program, which is great, you can do that. But how do you connect with everything else in the future life of how people can interact with you or your wallet or gift you certain things or give promotions, time-based, subscription-based, anything like that? There's already a protocol built and a tech stack already built for that. It's blockchain. And so when you don't have to keep rebuilding certain things because there's a community of developers and there's already a decentralized protocol to do that, I think that's why people gravitate towards the blockchain, because it's already there and it allows you to interact with many other contracts that you don't touch.
We've got a few minutes left, so I've got two more questions quickly. Tyler, you mentioned the wallet. We've heard a lot about the wallet today. You did an article in Forbes recently talking around this two-click qualification process into the wallet. Can you just unpack the user journey to highlight how easy it is to onboard customers into a Web3 environment? Yeah, so a brand posts on, one of our brands, Fjallraven, they started with us 4 years ago. They have a backpack, the Konkin backpack. So we posted on Instagram, we were giving away a Konkin a day, so a free Konkin every single day. And you clicked on that, you provided your email, you agreed to the terms and conditions, you come into this wallet, and then you're off to a scavenger hunt to find these bags, right? And so making that really seamless it's an HTML5 Web3 mobile app. So it looks like an app, it feels like an app, but you don't have to download it.
So that's what makes it Web3. It's not centralized where you're beholden to the platform or the app exchange from that standpoint, so that's key. And that brand is at over 1 million wallets at this point. They've now launched their loyalty program using Fox coins. We airdropped Konkin backpacks across 951 retail stores like Urban Outfitters and Nordstrom's. And in 48-hour period, had 20,000 people walk into Nordstrom's within 10 feet to grab the NFT, which was just a 3D Konkin bag, to be able to activate against that. So making it all really easy.
So agnostic to all media channels, but crucially providing the measurement and addressability that might otherwise not be there. If you think about out of home and TV, it provides that another dimension for addressability point of view. My last question before we get kicked off. Alex, for brands looking to activate in Web3 in 2023, what's your single piece of advice to getting it right?
One bit of advice.
One or two.
Understand the culture behind it. I think, again, a lot of brands will say they understand this space, but they play a bit like this. And really understand it, talk to people in this space, build an ecosystem of partners, and it's really important, and then make decisions on how you're going to activate or what you're going to do. For me, that's probably the biggest piece of advice I have. Yeah.
I was wondering if you were having some sort of fit there, or you were trying to...
No, just...
Thank you, Alex. Michael, to you?
I would just say, on top of what Alex said, I totally agree, and it's great advice. I'd say I'd add into that is that think about the consumer experience first, right? If you want to go after the audience who are Web3 native, have their wallets already, know all the technical background, ERC 721s, ERC 20, so like all that stuff, sure, that is a completely different strategy than if you want to do a mass reaching thing like Alex did with Vodafone or Fjallraven or anything like that, is that how easy it is for somebody to acquire an NFT or digital collectible. Do you even want to talk about that language at all, right? Nike, Starbucks, Reddit, they're all very successful in their last few drops because they're not even saying the words NFT or blockchain. They're talking about digital collectibles and things like accounts and stuff like that. So thinking about how easy it is for them to acquire them to be more mass reaching is extremely important too.
Yeah, and the outcome, right?
100%.
So what?
Yeah.
Tyler, closing thoughts?
Just don't do NFT drops. Don't try to tokenize your IP to think you're going to make $80 million by selling it. Don't do a Web3 activation because you want a press release. If you want to do, you should be doing Web3 only because it's no longer really Web3. It's really just achieving your overall marketing goals and objectives, and it's driving better business outcomes as a result of it.
You've heard it from the master himself. Mike, do we have any time for questions?
No, I was going to say you're lucky the content was fire because you went over time. So did you say it's a digital collectible for everyone in the audience? That's amazing!
So, and we actually do, so you can try it. We've got the DogeLorean parked out on the street, which is and so wrapped as the Dogecoin right to the right here. Julia Love is pointing to it. And there's a QR code on it. You can go grab it. You can go get a Doge NFT. You can see how easy Web3 is if you're so inclined. So
that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.